Hello world, this is Darin Martineau from Master Magic University, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to develop your character in Magic, okay? But before we talk about that, and actually which is an extension of that, if we go back just a little bit, we'll start off and we're going to talk about what S.H. Sharp in his book Neo-Magic Artistry, one of my favorite books on magic, what he classifies the conjurers into 6 basic categories. So this is a question you have to ask yourself: is what kind of magician do you want to become? It's very important because you could think that I'll give you an example of it. I have a friend who I won't mention his name, but he thought he wanted to become an illusionist, and he spent $250,000 on an illusion act, and then he found out that his specialty is actually psychokinetic and mentalism. That's just one example. Another one may be you may be a comedy magician and you may be in the wrong category if you're just exploring magic. So it's very important. Okay. Uh, so the 6 basic categories are originators. These are creative magicians, magic dramatists that develop effects and plots and script. Okay. So that's first, the originators. Second is the inventors, whose research and development place new technical uh, methods for the originators. Number 3, we have manufacturers, including dealers of magic. 4, executive conjurers. These are the professional performers, professional performing magicians who interpret before the public the work of the originators. Next, we have magic consultants, teachers of magic, and then we have magic critics that are informed, uninformed, and magic or theater critics, and on and on. So those are the 6 primary categories. Now, what are the criterion for a fine art magician? Okay, we're going to talk about what are the 3 degrees of art. There's uh, false art, which is the lowest, normal art, which is an eclectic, and then there's fine art. We are going for fine art, just like if you're an artist, you're going for fine art. And we are an artist, it's the art of magic, right? So the next question is, what are the criterion for a fine art magician? Some rudimentary facts and fine art transcending qualities are: number 1, the thorough love of the magic, knowledge, ability, um, understanding of the history of magic. That's important. That doesn't mean you have to know everything, but it's a thorough love of magic, the art of magic, knowledge, ability, and experience in your wisdom of fine art magic, because that is why we're doing this, because we love it, right? Number 2, mastery of presentation and showmanship, or histrionic ability, acting ability. Study acting. Acting is very important. Blocking skills, everything, okay? How to walk on stage, how to stand, posture, everything. Number 3, the mastery of the technical skills and methods, okay? 4 is originality. Originality is not the most important, but it is an important element. One of the formulas that Daryl Martinez taught me, that why he won so many magic competitions, was: 1, you want to entertain them; 2, you want to fool them; and 3, you want to show them some originality. Now that's for magic competitions, but if you look at it, it still applies to what we do, right? Some people go down the road where they compete and then they end up a professional. Other people are more pro performers and they take the other end. There's many roads to the top of the mountain, right? So the next we have is number 5, exclusive information. These are your signature pieces. This is your exclusive secrets that you develop, your effects, methods, and presentations, everything like this, your originality that flows into your exclusive information. Number 6 is your personality, your character, your unique character and grace. Number 7 is your unique style of magic. Um, Lance Burton can't be Matt King and vice versa. It's an old saying, but it's very true here. Number 8 is the mastery of misdirection and timing. We'll call it direction of attention, because we have to emotionally engage our audience, right? Next, we have the personality of your character and grace in your performance abilities and your connection with the audience, your rapport. And 7, we have So we had 7 unique style, mastery of misdirection and timing, or direction of attention skills. 9, mastery of psychology of magic, theories and applications. The 2 perfect theory and understanding all of this. Next is the enthusiasm and honorable ambition. And 11 is finally the talents. Now, this brings us to how to develop a character, okay? Now, we'll go back to what are the 3 is from Neville Maskelyne from his books on magic, our magic, and the performance of magic, and many other things, right? From Neville Maskelyne. Number 1 is false art. All art imitates, but false art is art that imitates another person's art. So that's the lowest level. Then we have normal art, which is an eclectic art. And then we have high art or fine art, which is original art. These are the 3 grades or 3 degrees of art according to uh, Neville Maskelyne, and also now according to S.H. Sharp. Okay? To S.H. Sharp, there's false art, there's formal art, there's naturalistic or realistic art, imaginative art, absolute or abstract conjuring, example, pantomime and magic, um, surreal effects, and on and on. Now, we're going to go over some things now. We're going to go over uh, how to develop a character. Okay, so first, you're going to ask yourself, what is your why? And you're going to ask this across all the different things. You're going to make lists. Okay, I'll make another video more specifically on the list, but this is just kind of a general video. We're going to go into a lot of different things, but it's an overview of how to develop your character. Okay, so first you need to understand what is your personality. If you don't, take personality tests and ask your family and friends and really understand, really find yourself. Okay, really be yourself. Don't try to be something you're not. Example, Lance Burton can't be Matt King. He's not as funny. Lance is more serious, right? Um, so you ask yourself why, the why of the character. The why is the actions, the magic choreography, and the magical gesticular vocabulary, right? Next is 2 is your why. Why is your script? Why is your magical character saying the lines and saying them with that tone? Why does your character act and talk in a certain way? Okay. Next, it brings us to the, we're going to talk about something here, and this is the 7 atmospheres of magic. Okay. I have this in my book, the Surreal System. If you want to get it, I'll leave a link below. Okay. So, um, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about a lot of different things here. We're going to talk about the 10 desirable qualities of a magician. Okay. So let's back up. Let's talk about we talked about the 11 qualities of the magician. So now let's talk about the 7 atmospheres of magic. Okay. So this is according to S.H. Sharp, and I got this from Neo Magic Artistry. It's my favorite book on magic, and I'm going to talk about it. But first, we're going to talk about the 10 master keys of the system of the fine art: presentation and showmanship, mystery premise, your dramatic premise and script, uber premise, properties, your props, direction of attention and timing, and routining and arrangement structure, fine art magic theory, dramatic ability and technical mastery, character, persona, manner and grace, style and theme. Now that would be the sub premise. Now there's 3 premises. There's the premise, the effect, the uber premise, which is your script, and the sub premise, which is your underlying meaning. Okay, they have to keep the theme. It's very, very important. You can't break the theme. You have to have not only character, you have to understand what is the concept of your show. If you look at David Copperfield, he has emotional hooks. Greatest examples would be his flying, his snow routine. He's added, like in his card trick, his grandfather aces, he adds the emotional hook. What does this do? It's the difference between symbolic demonstration and literal demonstration. Okay, and that's why we want to be doing symbolic demonstration. Okay, so um, let's talk about some things here. Um, we're going to talk about next the balance in your 7 plots of magic. There's only 7 plots of magic. What are they? Well, their appearance, their vanish, their transformation, which is the combination of that, transposition, there's penetration, there's levitation, and there's surreal effects, and there's mentalism and such. So there's primarily 7 plots of magic. Now, with that in mind, in your show, you want to have the balance and variety of the 3 premises, keeping the theme that we talked about, the 7 plots of magic, the 9 emotional appeals. Okay, we're going to talk about those, and the 7 atmospheres. So let's talk about the emotional pills right now. Okay, so hold on just a sec. Going through my book right now as we talk. Um, so the emotional appeals, why are they so important? There's many different kinds, but I have here listed in my book. I have 9 emotional appeals. So we're going to talk about those right now. Okay. Hold on just a second. We're going to be pulling that up on the book here. So there are many ways. Here are the 9 emotional appeals. There are many kinds of ways to achieve many different emotional appeals. Number 1, sensation. 2, competition. 3, sex attraction. 4, sentiment. 5, curiosity. 6, glamour. 7, romance. 8, intellectual. And 9, comedy. Now, there's many other kinds. Now, let's talk about the 7 atmospheres because you want to have a balance and a variety. If you think about a concert, you go to a concert, you go through the different music. You have the ballads, you have all the different types of music, and they take you on a roller coaster ride. They take you on a journey, and that's what we're doing with our magic. So the 7 atmospheres in the theme of magic are the macabre, are the psychic, or this type of macabre feel. 2 is like the fantasy or fairy type of feel. 3 is a ritualistic. 4 is a naturalistic. 5 is a lecture room. 6 the pseudo-scientific, and the 7 the burlesque. Now, um, pure magic has nothing added, nothing taken away. You don't want to overkill. You never want to overkill the magic. The effect should be very direct and very clear cut one, and it shouldn't be confusing effect or confusing presentation. Now we're going to talk about um, putting your show together. A magic show is a series of magic routines that build and flow into the grand finale. Okay. In order to have that, we have to have good transitions, which are in between. So if we think about one, we think about your beginning. You have the opener, your opening effect. Your middle is the journey of the conflict and resolution. And then you have your grand finale, which is the climax of the show, a highlight of the show. So we want to think about the concept and the tone of our show. We want to keep the theme, okay? If we're comedy, are we going to do, Lance Burton can't be Matt King and vice versa? We don't want to contradict. We don't want to break the theme. Now, magic uses surprise and suspense. There's also running gags. Um, and we're going to talk about what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read part of my book the Cerulean system, and we're going to talk about developing a character and what that looks like right now. So let's go to page 21 of the Cerulean system, and I'm just going to read this paragraph here, okay? So give me just a moment to pull that up. And I'm pulling that up right now. One moment. Now, we're going to talk about developing a character and what that means. So let's do that here. One sec. Now, in my book, The Cerulean System, I talk all about this. I have checklists. I have all kinds of things, okay, for your act. We're not going to go, that's beyond the scope of this video. This is about developing the character. So before we talk about developing the character, let's back it up a little bit. I mean, we're talking about it. Let's talk about the structure of a theme. Every great conjuring theme has 6 elements. Who is involved? The characters, the personalities, the interaction. Also the audience interaction, audience management. The what is being exhibited, such as the props and the properties, the objects. Um, the mystery and the phenomenon. 3 is the why, okay? Why is the particular routine and effect performed? You want to understand your character. Next, you have the how. How is the purpose achieved? The proof and style and treatment relation. 5 is the where, the setting, the location. We went over the 7 atmospheres. 6 is the when, the time period of the character. Is it modern or is it contemporary or is it classical? Is it fiction or fantasy? Then we have the manner and the grace. The manner is the treatment of the effect, theme, and presentation, personality, and style. Tailor treatment of effects to suit character audience, kids or adults. Simulates reality and simulates magic and grace. Does your character have a practical approach or impractical? Um, Example, comedy or suave or sophisticated or fantastic and spectacular style, like David Copperfield, illusion. Is your character within your realistic acting abilities? Natural handling of props. This brings us to the next point. Okay, we're gonna talk about now is more how to develop a character. Okay, so I'm gonna read out of my book here on page 21, character development. Here we are. Before you develop your character, your magic character we're talking about, you have to first create your own character, create your own magic character. Lance Burton can't be Matt King, and Matt King can't be Lance Burton because Matt King is more funny. Lance is more of the suave character, right? The classical magician. Now, so before you develop your magic character, you have to first create your own character. Understand who you are. Is this an extension of yourself, or is this something that you are not? Is it within your histrionic abilities, your acting abilities? This will take a lot of research. First, you need to study yourself, study the very best magicians, your favorite magicians, and study the movies that you like. Okay? You have to discover, first of all, what your natural strengths and capabilities are and build it around that. Are you a natural comedian or are you more of the suave character? Next, do not try to be someone you're not. Okay? Be careful not to over influence, be careful not to be overly influenced by the styles of the magicians that you like. Think outside the box. Don't copy others' magicians, only copy their qualities. That's why I always teach principles when I always teach magic, because then they can go and develop their own thing. Some people are more creative than others, I get it, but you can this creativity is a muscle that you can develop. Okay? So you want to create your character and your personality and your theme of your magic. You want number 2, the conveying of that magic character. 3, the appearance of that character. So now we're getting into costume and such. The functions of that character and actions and magical gestures and choreography. 5, consistency of character. Props, effects, presentation, script, and music. That brings us to music. 6, the style of the character. Elegant, mysterious, or is it comedy and amusing, etc. Number 7, the measure of meaning in the character. This is a very important part because when we have the measure of the meaning, what I wanted to talk to you about is that um, the 3 degrees of art come into play that I mentioned in the beginning of this video. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you some tips now on. Let's finish this out here. So, the emotional engagement. Think about David Copperfield and his illusions, the emotional hooks, the flying, the snow. Number 8 is, or number 7, that's the measure of meaning. Number 8 is the treatment of the presentations, props, and effects. Now that you have your character, that tells you what your props, because that tells you, like in Lance Burton's case, he's a classical magician, so he has the doves and the things, but it's matching his classical character. That wouldn't work. I mean, it could for modern, but you'd have to tweak it. So you have your character's manner and grace. Once you create your original character, then you want to create your signature pieces. This brings us to some important parts here. What is your signature piece? Think about who your character is and why he would do that particular effect. Okay, you want to always create an effect first because uh, you want to not always create an effect first because you want to justify the effects your character does. You don't want to break your character's theme. Have a good reason for everything you do. Justification. Focus on quality instead of quantity. Have a slow, fair style um, when you do if you do sleight of hand. Okay. I don't mean super slow. I mean natural and not fast and hand washy and suspicious. There are also many other elements to consider when creating your character. The 3 primary treatments of styles in magic presentation. Number 1, the magician makes the magic happen. Number 2, the magician observes the magic happen. And number 3, the magician is the victim of the magic. What category of magician are you? Do you want a character that is show off and flourishy, or do you want the character that causes mysterious miracles to happen without any explanations or suspicious movements at all? Why does a character dress a certain way? Is this like a, example, is this like a look like a mobster, or like if you look at like a Harry Anderson, is it like some kind of wise guy character, or serious or mysterious or comedy? So, what emotional hooks or emotional engagement does your character invoke on the audience? It's very powerful. We go back to David Copperfield and study him as a case study. What symbols does your character use? This is very important to understand the meanings behind colors, and that's beyond the scope of this video. But now we're going to wrap it up with a few things here, okay? I'm going to give you some advice on how to create new magic. So, what emotional hooks does your character invoke on the audience? What symbols does your character use? How does your audience relate to your character and the magic? Why does the character use the props and effects? How does the character present the effect? Symbolic demonstration versus literal demonstration. We want to do symbolic demonstration, right? Does a character do a story effect or an extemporaneous impromptu effect? Now, this brings us to when you're scripting, you don't want to always follow the script. It looks too robotic. So you want to be able to do some extemporaneous. That's where your improv. Take improv classes, take acting classes, study acting. Now I'm going to give some tips at the end of this video now, which is how to create some new magic. You want to have originality throughout everything. Okay, originality in your props. Think about how in the props you can add more meaning to them. Okay, we can give examples on all of this, and we can make another video. It's beyond the scope of this video, but we can make examples as we go. You need to understand symbolism. I said symbolic demonstration versus literal demonstration. Think about the story. Can you change the story? Now, when you're creating magic, you're not just like you're changing this, but this is one aspect. Okay, this is one trick to create magic. You change the props, like we said. You change the story. You change the presentational angle. You develop your signature pieces. This is how you do it. You add more emotional hooks and engagement. You change the effect. Take effects that go together, and this is part of your transitions, and it flows. Think about the methods. Think about practical and angle proof. Um, develop your script. Now, you may use narration. You may use narration in it. Um, then we get to how can we add more meaning to the magic? We talked about the 3 degrees of art, but there's also more meaning. A good example is David Copperfield's grandfather Aces. he tells a story about his grandfather, and this is a card trick that taught him as a kid. So he automatically has emotionally engaged the audience. And then he's added music. So there's different layers, right? So you want to build your brand and your style. And this is some advice for you. So if you'd like to get free magic, click on the link and I'll give you my free Master Magic course right now. And I will give you several videos. And I don't just say, oh, I take you through a process. It's a process. Just like in this video, I'm trying to break down this process. And it's in the beginning very messy. But then when you create the end product, you have your whole show. And it's a series of routines that flow together. And like I said, the transitions. So thank you very much. Please like the video. Please comment. Please subscribe to this channel. And please subscribe to my Master Magic University newsletter where I send you my newest videos, my newest products. I have a brand new product which I just came out with today, which is called the new Super Cardman stuff, which is really incredible. So click on the link. Thank you very much and keep it surreal.